Coca-Cola, a refreshing drink, a staple in many classic American barbecues. A logo recognizable on memorabilia such as shirts, bags, pins, even shoes. But why? Yes, it has a great taste, a refreshing feeling, but why does it continue to rank the greatest in the world of beverages? Why does it always secure its spot in Forbes' top 10, even beating out technologies and gadgets and their companies that are far more new, far more exciting, far more? While Coca-Cola claims that their 1886 origin has much to do with the great taste, but the 133-year lifespan has much to do with their ability to market. About 100 years ago, a man of the name Woodruff invested in this company and took it to market. That makes us remember that bright red and those bold white words. Before Woodruff, you could maybe find Coke in 6 different market types, but now it is found in almost every beverage category and has expanded to about 500 different brands. But some money in a refreshing drink by a man named Woodruff is probably not the sole reason for its found outpour in popularity. So let's look to see exactly what he did. Modernly, this company's website breaks it down into a few techniques. The first, and most important, being its originality, or their continued uniqueness. Their well-branded website states, "We believe the Coca-Cola Company's purpose is still to refresh the world and make a difference. It's uniquely us. It's why we exist, and it's needed now more than ever," end quote. They remark that because of this, they chose to be a company that changes as frequently as the world in order to make their timeless brand relevant in the times. Well, with this motto in mind, let's see how it applies to many of what the American Marketing Association calls the most successful branches of marketing. Which may just perfectly encompass a modern marketing perspective is influencer marketing, or the ability to use people who support the product with money to their name in order to promote a market without the company having to do much themselves. Often, there's compensation involved on both ends, and these influencers are paid to promote this product to reach an audience that the brand cannot. Coke has done this in a multitude of commercials, news stories, media posts, etc., all with that bright red logo, all with a recognizable hand. The next type is relationship marketing, which may sound similar to that of influencer marketing just off the name, but it's not quite the case. In this instance, look at the apps on your phone. Do you see any for a particular brand? Levi's, Vans, Express? When you click on them, do they offer you deals, things that appeal you to order online with your special account at your special discount, or offer a special reward in store to buy something you're not even quite so sure you want? Actually, Coca-Cola has one too. Bet that 130 years ago, this wasn't even a concept. Yet here, with 2 clicks of an app, I can turn on notifications to get company updates and reveal my location to get notified every time I'm near a bottle of Coke. I can shop for exclusive memorabilia, and of course, can sign up for rewards, with just a scan of my can of Coke, after I make a purchase. Viral marketing also falls under this social media umbrella, as it pushes through mass quantities some sort of slogan or message for people to remember. This can be noted with Coke's generations of slogan changing, all the way back from "Catch this wave of Coca-Cola" to most recently, "Open Happiness." This total of 47 slogan changes you can see on the screen before you, and of course we consumer only counting, goes to show how focused this brand has become on, well, their branding. Oftentimes, these slogans have also accompanied some memorable viral commercials, such as their most recent collaboration with popular musician Tyler, the Creator, to rate a jingle that sports 1.7 million views. This ability to keep the brand's tagline viral and memorable is what makes it a good representation of this type of marketing. A more specific example of this technique would be from all of Coca-Cola's annual Super Bowl commercials, and their continuous theme of someone always getting the fizz of a bottle or can of Coke open to take a refreshing sip. This great technique is even referenced in an article by Harvard Business School that states, "The Super Bowl is such a unique opportunity to explore and examine and observe the range of storytelling devices and storytelling features that brands use in this one moment and in this one platform. Next, we have green marketing, which, very reasonably named, means it plays to the mass public desire of a better environment and produces an overall safer production and consumption of product. By simply searching for Coca-Cola environmentally friendly, I have found an entire article on the front of their page that details their quoted green initiative. Here, I have found recycling bins that have been funded by Coca-Cola companies, reducing use of plastic in bottle manufacturing, and even a water security strategy, which is shown on the screen to you now. According to Coke, the goal here is to refresh the world. They label themselves as a sustainable company, and I believe this quote from the very top of their website summarizes the image of themselves they like to come from that. We act in ways to create a more sustainable and better shared future, to make a difference in people's lives, communities, and our planet by doing business the right way. If you were to open your laptops right now, I'm sure you have some search suggestion you click once a day. Mine, my Yahoo account. Yours may be a sale you're waiting on, a pre-sale you're hoping to nab. Regardless, you have a search. A one word, a one letter that brings you to something much larger. Now, I only have to type in the letter Y to find my Yahoo, and Coke took this initiative as well. This brings us to the concept of keyword marketing, or in its most modern application, having a shortening of your brand to an easy search that can come up under a multitude of searches. The one for Coca-Cola is probably quite obvious to you, it being Coke, 4 easy letters, 4 easy taps of a keyboard, but that is not where this tactic stops. Now, if I search soda or fountain drinks, if I click Shop Now on the Google feature, I'm offered as the first image a bottle of Coke. This mentally puts an image to a word, and also, since they have the popularity to do so, use the image they have, that even if you, the consumer, are unsure of what you want to drink in a competitive market, you will see Coke first. You will most likely buy Coke first. Finally, guerrilla marketing, which really summarizes the history of Coke. As lightly covered before, Coke began as a company of little to nothing, but built its way up with the underdog story by looking to investors with the same intention of growth. This is quite similar to the concept of guerrilla marketing, or as the American Marketing Association calls it, an unconventional and creative marketing strategy intended to get maximum results from minimal resources. Additionally, as you can see by this quote, it can be implied to the concept of minimalistic advertising, perhaps by leaving copious amounts of small posters for a product in large quantities. As you can see, your refreshing Coke can strategically fit each and every criteria in the modern age of marketing and the past, taking it back all the way to the very beginning of its investments. That's why we still see the bright red in the ice cabinet at Wawa, and why you go to a diner, odds are your glass cup has a Coca-Cola's logo imprinted in it. But is their marketing what makes it timeless? Timeless. Tricky word, isn't it? Well, probably not to you. It never was too tricky for me, because honestly, I never noticed the structure of certain products, certain music, certain visual appeal. Well, what makes something timeless? Webster defines it as eternal, not affected by, well, time. So, like I believe before this presentation began, you may feel something like a scrunchie is timeless because it came back in style. It withstood the ways of time. But that's not quite the case. What do we do with that gap, that bridge, where scrunchies were in fact lost in time, rather than say, timeless? Timeless remarks about the companies, the ideas that have pursued and flourished, or perhaps famously faltered since their debut, that have never stuttered in the structure of stardom, that have never stuttered in their structure. I'm sure a thought immediately comes to mind, an object, a melody, a book you know fits this definition. So let's see. I sent out a Google forum, and I asked a wide range of demographics one question alone: what is something truly timeless? But, with the twist, I added, to you. And I got a wide variety of responses. Some say certain artists, both musical and painters, some books, others song lyrics, even the intentions of a human mind. But all had one thing in common. They were personal to each person. So how do we know if something's timeless outside of our ideals, our likes, our wants, our needs? This wide variety really made me look deeper into this world. And even though my research has shown me a brand like Coca-Cola keeps their image alive through marketing, we must now ask if that is what makes it timeless. Is that why when you were in the South, you call every soda Coke? We've adapted into a new world, where your answer 5 minutes ago may be a messy statement now. We are in a new world, where something that we assumed was timeless, like the silly bands or even certain toys, are now fragments of a closing memory. So, I had to get a little more specific. As the concept of a modern world constantly changes, what must companies incorporate in their image and development in order to make them truly timeless? Timeless. The ability to be a household name. The ability to be, until all other factors except for you falter first. Forbes states that a product, a company, can be truly timeless if its marketing techniques see 3 specific factors: balance, learning, and the ability to be radical. But what does that mean? Well, let's break it down, shall we? Balance. You may think tightrope. You may think simply the ability to be calm, zen, together. However, Forbes breaks it down into a balance of 2 concepts in the company. And I quote the balance as, between wanting to spend more than you have and being afraid to expand when you should. Meaning, being able to balance creative spending with overspending in a company. Particularly, a new one already rooted in possible debt due to factors of manufacturing, location, etc. This suggests a timeless business is crafty and knows sales, and more importantly, how to apply them to a newly rooted company, so it can be constantly balanced with room to grow, rather than askew and all good to fall over. In this same factor, Forbes remarks that this method of balance is important to note in hiring. Do you hire the more experienced, expensive employee right off the bat, or the cheaper, possible weak link? Understanding a company's ability to employ and maintain is just as important as maintaining the manufacturing. Next, Forbes asks you just one favor: learn. Forbes implies this lesson to show a company can be timeless if it learns, whether that be from success, failure, and even competitors. Strive for improvement, and simply understand why things happen, and what you can do with them when they arrive. Forbes looks to the ability to be radical, or having the ability to be different, unique, special. I feel this concept greatly combines not only Forbes' 3 simple steps, but also the many ways of marketing mentioned before. The goal is to take on the basis of a company, but to be timeless, you must be unique, and be able to moderate that uniqueness time and time again to keep up rather than fall apart. That is what makes Coke timeless. That is what can make anything timeless. The ability to continuously stand out as new and refreshing when you've never really changed over all those years, after all that time. So, now that we can understand what makes a current company that's rooted in years and years of history and marketing timeless, let's look to some modern companies and see what has changed in the path to gain potential in this small club. After all, 50 years ago, the life expectancy of a firm in the Fortune 500 was 75 years. Today it's 15 years and declining. Actually, let's take a look at the Fortune 500, or the annual 500-item list that ranks the United States' top corporations of that year. Like the quote suggests, oftentimes Fortune 500 also predicts the soon-to-be timeless brands and ranks them as such. Similarly, Forbes does this with their top brands of whatever year it is. Now, as I said prior, Coke is nothing but an example to represent and dissect what makes an old brand modernly timeless. And as such, there was a multitude of examples as to why and how it has come to fruition. However, how do these websites take products of yesterday and skyrocket them into 75 years in the future? How do they predict their timelessness? Well, their website states, companies are ranked by total revenues for the respective fiscal years, which means your first year of production holds all the value. For if your company begins low, how are you ever supposed to flourish? How can you be predicted? Well, to the newer companies, this is where the ability to be unique must apply, because if you start out standing out, then you can continue to rise on that platform rather than fall behind. Coke was unique because it was a new, refreshing taste. Levi's were the first rebellious jeans. Even the first ice pop was the easiest way to eat frozen dessert on a hot day. But those all had the opportunity to be a new, exciting thing. All the old companies had a chance to be truly unique. But now, there are so many repeats on each other. How many different brands have developed their own denim jackets? How many have created their own ice cream flavors? How many have created the same marketing techniques, one on top of the other? So how do those be unique? How do the new brands be truly their own? First thing is resilience, the ability to have an idea and stick to it. Then comes uniqueness. Take a bakery. You've been baking all your life. You know what ingredients go where, and you have all these unique recipes passed down. You save a life's earnings and finally open a cute little bakery in New York City, your dream. But as you walk down the street on opening day, you notice 3 other bakers just on your street. They already have lines. They already have a name. You do not. So how do you attract a market in a world where everyone prefers what they are used to? Individuality. Let's continue on with that bakery example. Walking into your bakery, you put out the sign that labels your favorite croissant recipe and your favorite donut recipe. And then, as you stare at the 2 words together, the 2 staples in any bakery, the 2 staples in those 3 bakeries down that same street, a familiarity in any bakery, you wonder what would happen if you smashed them together. In comes the cronut, a social media outpour that resulted in a need to pre-order this delectable treat. But now you are a unique brand, but are you timeless? For you may have all the qualifications to be timeless, unique, resilient, particular marketing, but how can anybody know about all of this if you do not have a name yet? How do you function on this inability to market? Well, today, studies show that the easiest way to do this is through social media. If you were to scroll through your timeline on Instagram right now, or search the trending on Twitter, or even watch your Snap stories, I'm sure each platform offers at least one advertising mechanism. In the Cronuts case, it played to people's need to photograph their pretty food and post it, and this became free advertising, as it was shared in uplifting ways, and reached a sub-audience the company may have not been able to get on its own. Another is publicity, or even more specifically, endorsement, through the endorsement of nonprofits, also known as charities. One you may think of is Ivory and Ella, a brand that skyrocketed their accessibility and popularity by promising a 50% donation of the company's year net profits to go out to the elephants. This was a mass publicized effort in order to make people have the dual support of not only buying from their company, but having them feel good about themselves while doing so. Their mission statement says, "We embrace the elephant as a symbol, a cause, and a portal to a better world for all living beings." And I believe that this is unintentionally a good summarization of this modern method of marketing, using modern symbols for an almost guilt-tripping cause. Next, we shockingly have controversy. Now I'm sure I know what you're thinking. Doesn't that demerit the brand before they even begin? Well, there's a quote that goes, "All news is good news," and I believe that this correctly applies in the modern world of marketing. Although it must be handled correctly and maturely, getting in a good scandal, or as people say, internet beef, is a good way to create a name for yourself that cannot be forgotten. Company CEO Daniel Hennessy summarized it perfectly in an interview with CNBC, stating, The cleverest thing an advertiser can do is the opposite of what everyone else is doing. End quote. And if you are only looking for love, then perhaps you should attempt to gather some hate. This mentality kind of ties back to the previous statement of the modern importance of social media. Oftentimes, internet scandals can last trending on platforms like Twitter for days, with people just constantly rereading that hashtag. Now, if this happens with a brand, you may be just so inclined to check out their own page, automatically giving them one new set of eyes to market to. Now, let's look to a more specific example of this. The razor company Gillette's campaign that attempted to shut down toxic masculinity under the slogan, "We believe the best men can be." Occurring during the time of the #MeToo movement, it was quite risky to handle such a large topic of putting men to blame, and like any politically inspired marketing, it received heavy backlash, boycotting, hate, but also, surprisingly, a lot of praise as well. This split still made both sides generally curious about what they did to promote such an outcry, and that ad now has 30 million views and counting. Oftentimes, when companies incorporate politics into a campaign, it is messy and unprofitable. But in this case, it causes a media outcry so large against its haters that the controversialness of the situation led to an even bigger window of a fan base than before. Brands stay popular and create popularity by finding the balance, the knowledge, and the radicalness of both new and old marketing techniques. And by keeping them unique, keeping them individualized and refreshing. Literally, if we look back to Coke, a brand can be truly timeless. For in the long run, they will never have a true concept for comparison to corrupt their brand. The American Marketing Association breaks this down into their 4 Ps: product, what you are selling; price, profit of selling; 3, place, where you are selling; and 4, promotion, how you are selling. And all of these, if expanded correctly, can make a brand as timeless as a soda with a recognizable red label and a fizz of its tab. So now I ask you, what is truly timeless?